Well, you see redcoats coming out in a couple of different groups there. You see redcoats, those are the career soldiers of the British Army. They are well-trained, well-supplied. They are the army of the largest empire in the world in the 1700s, in the 18th century. So, by all, methods of predicting, most everybody at the beginning of the American Revolution thought the British would win because of their superiority in supply and organization and training. We all know, of course, that is not what happened. And you'll seem like they're a little slow to start, but when you're using these muzzle-loading weapons, and a musket is really deadly at 50 yards. You'll hit something at 100 yards, maybe not exactly what you aimed at, but, and beyond that, it's pretty useless. So, and especially since we don't want to have our people out there taking casualties the first minute of the battle, then it's all over for boring. So, we actually get a little closer before we start seeing a lot of casualties out there. So, the urgency to get into, battle and start shooting is not so much, and there's no automatic weapons. I mean, everybody is having to muzzle load all of these weapons. So it's really just as important to be in the right position as it is to as anything else. Because if you're not directing your enemy, you're not going to slow down as well, because you're not going to be, knocking enough people. There were rifles on both during the Revolution, but it takes much longer to load a rifle than it does a musket. Musket, you should be able to load 4 times a minute, a rifle only once. So while your rifleman is loading once, the musketman can shoot at him 4 times, chances are pretty good that, he's at least going to get winged under those circumstances. So rifles were not the advantage that, some of our history myths actually try and tell us that they were. Also, musket was being held a bayonet at the end of it, which a rifle was not, because a rifle is a hunting weapon. So, oftentimes we hear that local militia, Minutemen during the Revolution, were afraid of the, trained soldiers on the ground forces, the British side. They wouldn't stay in battle. They fire one shot and run away. Obviously, you can see all the troops out here on the congressional side are pretty well trained. They are not, they're operating under command of their officers. They're not running away. They don't seem to be afraid of the redcoats. So it looks like these are all experienced soldiers. The numbers are pretty close. Whoa! I think something went wrong with the artillery piece there, because the Crown forces felt perfectly comfortable jumping that fence and going right into the artillery piece. So I think they must have been able to see that the piece was unloaded, or there was a problem. They couldn't get it loaded properly, and they bypassed it entirely. Now you can see the small force of British is pushing in against the end of the congressional lines. So they mounted what we call a flank attack, and now the congressional forces are formed in kind of an L formation, and then there's this other group that's kind of going this way. They've got enemies, on 3 sides. So the soldiers, the officers, trying to get them to kind of form up and prepare there, so that they can get some firepower there. You'll see that they're, from my way of thinking, they're surprisingly few casualties while they're rearranging themselves in the field. And part of that is because they're not directly facing, if they're not directly facing the enemy troops, as they're moving around, it's just they're less likely to be hit by fire from one. You'll see that the British are pressing their advantage. They see that they manage to, even though these are well-trained troops, they manage to kind of rattle and disorganize the congressional forces. They're having to continually move around on the field to try and respond to what this British force is doing down here, using some light infantry tactics and moving a little more quickly. And so they're continuing to press advantage. You see the 42nd, the Scottish soldiers come across the field with fixed bayonets. If you've never seen guys like that coming at you with your bayonet fixed, you do not know what you were missing. You know, that is a scary sight, and the British are known for taking as many casualties with their bayonets as they ever did shooting with muskets. So,
the drummer went down. Yeah.
The battle has the possibility of disintegrating into several smaller conflicts across the field. And then you risk having the commander just recognize that and pull these troops back. If you get a few people separated from the rest, you risk having them captured and cut off.
First, they're still playing the fights out there.
And the last thing you want to do is use the men and their weapons to the British, who are already better supplied than the congressional forces. So. Out there giving the commands. The drummers and fifers were the message senders of the 18th century. You'll see now that they're getting closer together. But you also see what's happening is that now that there's like congressional soldiers in the back of the British soldiers and in front of them and all over the place. And you know, I'm not sure to predict what's going to happen here. A group of the 42nd, the Scottish Redcoats are like, you know, chasing one of the color bearers and some of the troops off the field, and now we just have this little clump of congressional soldiers, because the rest have left the field or are down. So they're moving fast in that direction. It looks like the British are probably inclined to let them go. There's kind of a rear guard there. If they were to surrender, the British were to capture them, then they're obligated to house and feed them. Out there in the frontier, they might not have a supply line to want to do that. So they might get them off the field, get them disorganized, get them gone, and let that be rather than force them to surrender or try and capture them. And I'm predicting that's what's going to happen here. We'll have to see, you know, what orders their commander gives. Now, you'll see a lot of people down on the field. Most of those are not actually killed outright during battle. Most of them got back to the field hospitals. The problem was with no antibiotics and surgeons who did not know that they need to sterilize instruments in between patients. Your ability to survive being shot was based a lot more on your immune system and how well you could fight off the infection you were definitely going to get than just about anything else. So those people that you see down on the field, the casualties will be taken care of by the surgeons on the victorious side, and then they will be kept as prisoners of war. And they're periodically during the conflict, prisoner exchanges where, you know, they were able to exchange and get out of the prison camps and back to their own sides. You see some women out on the field. Actually, women did go in the armies of the 18th century. You would not see them very often in a combat situation like this. We very frankly use our women as 21st century first aiders. They've got extra water out there and they check the casualties to make sure that everybody is a pretend casualty and nobody's in trouble from being ill or having hurt